Greetings. Hey, it's Susie Q. Oh my gosh. Um, so I kind of go over some of my Akashic records and I start accessing different ways of looking at life, and it's been fascinating. It's been a fascinating experience for me on this planet. I've really enjoyed it, and so today we're going to focus on some juicy material, and we're going to call it the angelics. You could say they're from a different system, a different star system. A lot of things are helping us, right? We can't really identify necessarily what is supporting us, what is loving us, and what is really engaging with our time here while we're on the planet. It's super fun and amazing. And so I think I've done this many times talking about this one story. But this happened back in September of 2015, and there was a solar and lunar eclipse in that same month. And at that same time, I had a experience that was really extraordinary, amazing, and I continue to process some of my emotions and feelings around some of these events. So to get the story going. Is that I was in a networking group. I was in charge of the networking group. It was all women. And this new woman came in, never saw her before. She sat right next to me. And I kept looking at her and I was like, oh my gosh, I think she can. I just want to connect with her. I want to connect with her. And so after that, after the networking group was done, I just said, I feel like I need to have you come into my space or help me. I don't know what you do. And she said, I'm busy. I'm a nurse. I've got kids. I've got a husband. And she had all these like excuses. And I said, well, I'm just begging. So anyway, I would call her and just say, please. And she was getting ready to go to John of God. And then she just said, okay, I'm going to come to your house, right? And so what we're looking at right now is this extraordinary time. Again, 2015 was when all my gifts came through. I was completely kind of cray-cray because I had too many gifts. And they were all open. They were all open folders. I'll call them all open folders, right? And then, but then back in 2015, in that September, everything was really beginning to give me more guidance, more understanding, and more awareness. Because again, when you have a lot of gifts that come in with the ascension things and all these different things that are happening, it's kind of like I'm a hot mess, right? All right, so anyway, so she came over, she brought her massage table. I didn't even know what technique she did, and I didn't care. I just knew that this woman next to me was a helper for me. There was some sort of a guide. And so anyway, so what we found out was it's really the work of Eric Pearl with Reconnection. And I'm not really a reconnection person, and I didn't even know what that meant. And then I just asked her after the session, what was that? She said it's reconnection. And so we also had a commonality too at the very beginning of our conversation when she came in my place. Is I was talking about Dolores Cannon, and she said she just had some hits with Dolores Cannon too. So all of these things are kind of conspiring, to have a better experience, to have a better time of commonality with one another and connecting. So anyway, so I got on the day. Not on the day bed. My day bed is here, but there's a massage table that she brought in when I was back in Houston, and I just I'm pretty cool just being on a massage table. I don't have to go into any kind of deep state or anything. I'm just hovering, I'm like hovering on the massage table. And so with the reconnection, it was kind of extraordinary. I keep saying it over and over again, but that was a real opening to a lot of my states of being. So even before she came in for the session, I already knew that gifts were already coming in. And so we're going to go through a few things that happened during that time. Again, I've done this many times. I've shared about it. I've written about it. And again, reconnection with Eric Pearl. And this practitioner was fabulous. She came in and she was succinct. Not on the day bed. I keep talking about the day bed because my day bed is where I do my work. I just got on the massage table and then I got comfortable. And then all of a sudden, I had 8 different beings that were working on me. And so what did they look like? They kind of look like they were kind of like a machine in a way. They all looked exactly the same. They had a semblance of a body, but there was no facial features. There were no arms. They were just kind of leaned over. All of them were completely in the same space, right? So there was one person holding me here, and then there was another being that was at the foot of my at the massage table, and then there were three beings on both sides. And this is when I started having more understanding, more learning, because that 2015 energies and all of the gifts that I had all simultaneously was like chaos for me. But this September, with those two eclipses, the lunar and the solar eclipse, I think that was a huge, extraordinary experience to have. All right, so when we were working with some of these energies, at some point, I probably went into more of a relaxed state, and all of a sudden I had vision. And I could see the other beings. They were all leaning over. They were all kind of like a light blue, and they were all the same. Again, they had no arms. They were just leaning over, and they were apparently doing some energetic work with me. So then what I first started noticing about when they were kind of leaning over, because I think when I first started to get on the massage table, I was really kind of in kind of this different kind of sleep state, and then all of a sudden the visions came up. I didn't open my eyes at all, but I could see exactly what they were doing. And so that side of vision, the different semblance of vision, shows up when you're in these experiences that are extraordinary and amazing. So the first thing I noticed was that there was electrical currents happening. And so the energy was really kind of working kind of in my digestive tract. At one point, my hand was lifted up like this, but they didn't have hands, So it was kind of an interesting time just to kind of acknowledge that I don't have to really know exactly what's going on, but I'm really just, excited to share some of these events. So the electrical currents were the beginning of my understanding about who I am, what I can do, and what is next for me. So the electrical currents were showing up. And again, of course, I felt like somebody lifted me up like this, but it was weird. It was like there was like a phantom, hand. I don't even know how to explain that. Okay, but now we're going back into, again, the electrical currents, and that's when everything began for me. And from that time, back in September of 2015, I was starting to kind of catch the vibe. And also, when we're looking at some of these events that happen for us, is those angelics or these other types of beings are coming in. And so even when I was done doing the session with the reconnection, I was asking like the practitioner, like, how many helpers do you have? She said none. I said, well, I had a lot of them, and so that was really kind of fun just to hear that. And so when I started working with the electric currents through the work of Reconnection of Eric Pearl, and that her name was Katrina Hunter, by the way. Now I can remember her name, Katrina Hunter. And so I start working. After the session was done, I asked her, where were you? Somebody was holding my head the whole time. She said, no, I was about 15 feet away from you. I didn't touch you at all, but something was holding the top of my head the whole time. And so all of these things right here that we're looking at are kind of unusual anomalies, and maybe it's a miracle, or maybe it's a better sense of being. I don't even know. So anyway, I'm kind of going back and forth because I'm super excited to share about this. And so when I first started, after we finished the session, I started working with the electric currents. Okay, that was my first thing that I did. After the session, I started working because I had all those electric currents moving all through my body when the session was on with Reconnection. Nobody was touching me. I was running with a lot of electrical currents. And so after that, I started working in my bedroom, and I would start working with just feeling any senses of electrical currents coming up. And what happened first was it might have been right around my calf area was when it started to happen. So both of the calves were starting to have small, like little increments of electrical currents going. And eventually I kept wanting to have more guidance. I wanted to have more understanding about those beings. I wanted to know more about it, but That wasn't going to happen. It wasn't going to happen. But the electric currents were happening. And so over time, I would constantly be on my bed, nothing crossing the midline, and I would just be in a state of allowance, like, let's, call in that energy that was there with the reconnection piece. And so that's pretty amazing. And eventually they started going from the calves to the upper legs, and then eventually over time, right? It wasn't like it wasn't immediate, but all of a sudden I would start getting the full sense of energy coming all the way through the body. And it's almost like the toroidal field. It's like all the energies and all those currents of energies. And it kind of feels yummy too, right? It kind of feels yummy, but you kind of feel it here, and then it starts collapsing. And then it starts expanding and collapsing with those energies. And so that was a while that took me some time to focus on, really working with the electrical currents and working with what we call Kundalini. And all of that was kind of an exploratory experience. And even though September 2015 was kind of humming, at the beginning of that 2015, it was really challenging. So it was really a benefit for me to have that woman come over, Katrina, to come in, do reconnection. And she was basically, she said, I didn't really, it's really for you. I didn't ask her any questions, anything like that, but that's what was the beginning of my experience to have a better way of looking at life. Before, at the beginning of 2015, it was a hot mess. Susie was a hot mess. And so at that point, I was able to really start accessing the body pieces. And so when you're looking at the body pieces, that doesn't sound very good, but we start working with the body. So I think we're going to do another video after this, because I'm super excited, and I think our time is almost up here. But so anyway, so we're going to probably do another one here, maybe in a couple days, going deeper into what was Kundalini, what was happening, and what was helping me. So we'll see you soon, and namaste.